What's the name of that blog again?
I do declare. TheKidsWearCrowns.com.
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 You are listening to TheKidsWearCrowns.com.
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 KidsWearCrowns.com. Buy a shirt.
Pretend I'm doing the Disney Channel wand thing, except it's our logo.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. I am mcdeedus, and I have today a very special guest. Y'all probably seen her 1,000 times because she's a friend of mine, a friend of the blog, a contributor to the blog. But today, we are here to talk about her specifically. This is Helen.
Hi, everybody.
You'll get to know a little bit more about her as a person, not just all her views on television and current events, if you will. We started this because Helen had a series of tweets. They were about, I guess you can say, some self-reflection, introspection, kind of
a
type
realization.
Yeah, it started because she said, a reality just hit me and it kind of made me mad. It's not the first time I've considered this, but right this moment just feels different than before. And then she kind of goes on into about her parents both worked hard and became pretty successful in their fields of study against odds, being Black. My mother being a Black woman, my dad being a Black man in the Jim Crow South. She felt bad about asking them for help and money because what do they really owe me? I'm gonna stop there because that's kind of what we want to start with. Okay. There's a lot of talk about what we owe each other as human beings, men, respect, kindness, whatever else. But this will basically center on children, parent relationships, and also dreams, right? I wanted to start with the poem. Y'all have heard it before. It's Harlem. Most of us know, Dream Deferred. Life may have been a crystal stair, Tax and boys split up. But really what it is what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester, and all of these different things. I apologize that I don't have it ready for y'all to quote, but y'all know it. And if you don't know it, please go find it. It's beautiful by Langston Hughes. Now, with that said, what did you want to do with your life? What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was but a wee lass, I wanted to be a tiny tot. I wanted to be I've always wanted to be a performance. Say it. I wanted to be on Broadway.
Okay.
I wanted to be an actress. I definitely knew I wanted to do something people-facing entertainment, in that vein, a triple threat, if you will. I wanted to get an EGOT. I wanted to be a star.
I'm glad, and I said say it because I'm not sure if this is a Black girl thing. So I'm speaking from experience, from what I know. So if it's not singular to us, that's fine. I'm not trying to give us a struggle or plight. But we, especially like Helen was saying, her parents grew up in a time, Jim Crow South, Bible Belt, as Black people. Things weren't
as mama's from Baltimore, but close enough.
Okay. But things are, we see things and then we know things were hard, but having someone to give us that information directly is shocking, I guess is the word I could use.
Yeah.
Sobering, if you will, because I found out my aunt was in school when they were doing segregation. And she said it so casually one day. She was like, yeah, she came over, we were talking to the girl and she came over on my side. I didn't go over there. She came on my side. And my brain short-circuited for a second because I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like these people, when we say our grandparents and parents are still walking around, that's what we mean. So with that, it's understandable that our parents growing up with these hardships and with these labels put on them and things that they could have, they weren't allowed to do sometimes, that they would push us into careers that were, what's the word I want to look for? Promising. Almost, lucrative, that would have longevity, things that that they were almost guaranteed. That's what I'm looking for. That would almost guarantee success. So a lot of us, I know me, doctor, lawyer, Teacher has always been admirable. Like we always knew it didn't make money, but if you want to be a teacher,
Right.
then that was fine. Like that was probably the low paying job
that they would accept.
Other than that, doctor, lawyer, everybody wanted to be an astronaut, but pushes.
I don't know. I might join the Space Force
at this point. But the dreams, I want to be a star. I want to be the next Rudy Huxtable, or for you millennials, Olivia, Raven Simone, whatever you wanted to be. That was a bit far-fetched for us.
Right.
For us. I'm not saying that some people weren't encouraged, but they were. Now, I'm from Birmingham, so that wasn't something that we really had a lot of access to. Later on, we got the School of Fine Arts, which is awesome, but I think it's a little different for maybe people that were from maybe even Atlanta, because they had access. They had access. They had the producers and people who were there that they can get to. But we were a little different, as in, hey, you can do that like a little side thing. And if you go to the mall and somebody discovers you, cool. But you got to get your lesson.
Because theater is huge in Birmingham.
Huge. It really is. But you got to get your lesson. So with that, what was it like to have these thoughts, these dreams, these aspirations, and then being told,
right. So it wasn't so much that I was necessarily told, maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you can't do that. And they always supported in that, they would be at my plays, or they would be at my recitals or whatever. And they put me into those things, right? They wanted me to be well-rounded. They wanted me to know and do the arts. I was in piano lessons. I played several instruments. I was in the drama club, I'm in the band. So they encouraged those things, but then it was like only through childhood are those things going to be your things. What do you want to do with your life? So it wasn't necessarily that they were saying, maybe you can't do that, but it was like, what are you going to actually do? Mm-hmm. Or what, if that's what you want to do, what are you going to do with it? Like, what's your backup plan? It was always, okay, so you go to the University of Alabama and get a master's in fine arts, which is what I set out to do at the first time I went to school. Then what? So it was like, I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get there, right? Because one, you either figure it out or you don't. But from their perspective, it's like, I don't want you to not be able to figure it out, because they don't want, to see their child struggle. But then I found myself second guessing, like, am I not good enough to do this? Is because if I am good enough to do it, then I can find a way and make it. In my mind, that's how it works, right? If you really want something, you can make it happen, you can do it. But then I started second guessing myself again. So it's like, okay, well then maybe I could just become a drama teacher. That, I could, I'd be great, in that regard. Mold the minds of the future children who want to be stars, be their support system. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a really great drama teacher. I had a really great band instructor. Shout out to y'all, to them, Ms. Newton, Mr. Sperling. Y'all got me through, right? But so it's not so much as in my situation, my parents didn't support me, but it was always just kind of an underlying, maybe you won't make it, so you should have a different plan.
It sounds more like you said, there's a difference in support and pushing. And what your parents pushed you to do is something that would be, like we said, lucrative, secure, money secure. And what you wanted was to push into the thing into your passion.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure y'all know this is not a diss song.
It's not. I love my
real song.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure her parents will see this and be like, I get it. But there are things that we may say that may sound bad. We just want y'all to know that they're not. Okay. So with that said, as a parent, because I am one, so therefore I'm an expert. Of course. But as a parent, you always want to set your children up for success. You do because even if you do set them up for success and they fail in some way, which you will, but if they fail, let's say spectacularly, you own that. If you are a good parent, there's a part of you that's like, what did I do? Now
what didn't I do?
There are things that you couldn't control. Like, people will be who they are. There's a point where you have to say, this child is an adult. I have done it. Go forth.
Right.
But if your child fails spectacularly or harms somebody or does something that is outside of the core values you taught them, then there's a point where you're like, oh gosh, what did I do? What didn't I do?
Right.
So in trying not to F up, or have your kid in therapy talking shit about you, you do weird things sometimes. So I think, like you said, it's good that you said that they did support you, because I feel like they did. In their mind, that was support.
Right.
And we have to realize too that that's again where communication comes in, because did they know you'd lost confidence?
Probably not.
See,
because I was still doing the things that I wanted to do. And
Okay.
against their recommendation, I still did go to college for a master's in fine art.
Okay, and then what happened?
Well, the way that it works at the school that I went to, you had
The
to.
university. I want y'all to make sure y'all know she said the University of Alabama.
Did I?
UAT.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you for that. I own one shirt. That's it. It's so because where you go. But anyway, the way that it works there is you get in the theater program and you have to audition for the MFA program. So you go for a year, you audition, and what happened was, or I don't know if it was go for a year, but whatever. At some point, you have to audition to get into this 4-year program. So you get a master's in 4 years, just so you don't have to do extra stuff. Okay. But you do basically triple threat training. So you do acting, singing, and dancing, and it's just the whole curriculum of a master's of fine arts with a concentration in musical theater. Mm-hmm. So I auditioned not once but twice, and I didn't make it. And then tuition got really high, and I was paying for school myself. Because then they hired Nick Saban. So when I came to the University of Alabama, Mike Shula was the football coach. Okay, let's just start there. All right.
Revenue was different.
The revenue was a little bit different. So my sophomore year and after, it was like, and I was taking out student loans in my name. I said, I'm not doing this anymore because they raised tuition so much. I was like, I don't want to do that. Especially one, I had auditioned for the program that I wanted to be in twice, and a little shade to them, they had just met their quota. Shout out. I won't call her name. It's fine. I love her.
She's great.
Very much. She's great. But they had met their quota. So they didn't need another me, because I feel like we are kind of similar people. We'll leave it at that. But so I didn't get into the program, and I dropped out of school. I was working 3 jobs at any rate. So I just kept working. I just lived in Tuscaloosa for another 2 years and kept working. And around about the 18-month mark, I got pregnant. Shout out to Boo, my child, who is now 14 whole years old. That's crazy. But I just stayed there.
She's 14. Whatever.
So then life started happening, and life comes at you fast. I chose to, complete the pregnancy, and now when I did have her, it was decided pretty much for me that I was no longer going to live in Tuscaloosa, and that I was going to move back home to Tuskegee and have help. I won't put quotes around it. I mean, I had help, but I mean, I would not have not had help had I stayed in Tuscaloosa, is the point. But life comes at you fast, and then one decision can change the course of the whole trajectory, right? And that's what happened. Mm-hmm.
So this is where I wanted to go back to her tweet. She was saying she used to feel bad about asking them for help or money because they didn't owe her anything. Right out of college, she was making near 6 figures.
I was when I graduated.
She was working 2 jobs, 2 plus, because teaching. But then she got burned out, and the thought I had was I no longer feel bad about having to still rely on them from time to time, because while they chose their careers and love what they do and have had success at shit that they were passionate about, they told me my passions would never be enough to pay my bills. And if I pursued them, I'd be broke and struggling. So I pursued something else. And I worked really hard for a long time at something I hated and still was just barely making it. So I worked harder and eventually burnt out. And now here I am with a degree they deemed as, quote, good enough, and yet still struggling. Okay. Burnout is real. And I want to be clear that we're not doing a woe is me. We recognize that there are decisions that Helen made that put Helen in certain positions. We get that.
For sure.
Nobody is saying that her parents told her that she couldn't do it, whatever else. We're really focusing on the whole, as Lupe calls it, punch clock promise, where you tell me if you go to this school, you make these grades, you get this degree, you will have this amount of money, right? And that works out for some. It worked for me. It did. It worked for me. I'm grateful that I got the career that I wanted, but I wasn't forced into my career. I was in engineering, and I say that because most of us, if you ask, we were told from an early age, you should probably be an engineer because we tinkered with the remote control or the VCR or try to fix stuff. And I was just like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I didn't even know what engineering was. I mean, I'm just being honest. I still don't know. What
I still don't know what I do. And that's beautiful. I love that for you. But we also have to talk about the difference in when it was that we came out of school. You just barely missed the housing crisis.
Oh, I did.
And the job, whatever you want to call it. But whereas when you came out of school, it was engineers getting jobs. And then 6 years later, when I graduated, or I didn't graduate in 2010, I ended up going to Tuskegee later. But again, when I graduated in 2010, I still would not have had, if I had gone for some engineering or whatever, I wouldn't have had that because my sister did. She graduated in 2009. She's a chemical engineer by trade. She's never worked in the field.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a police officer.
Yeah. Again, engineering, folks.
So I mean, it was just a toss up, and you can't know. Like, I mean, sure, you can say cybersecurity is the future, and you need to know how to do, or somebody needs to know how to do it. And if you go into that field, you're definitely going to have success if you know what you're doing. And to some degree, that's true, but we can't all be cybersecurity officers or whatever.
And you have to recognize the boom also. Like she said, I came out in 2004. Shout out to Auburn University class 04, December, baby. But like there was, when I came out of school, I remember vividly, we had a new major, which was wireless. And that was something that was on the brink. It was on the precipice. We were doing things. Fast forward, it's 2024. What is anything without wireless? Like there's you go anywhere and people are asking what's your Wi-Fi password,
right?
Like automatically. So I'm just saying, when you're on the front end of things, it's a little easier to kind of fall into certain things. Learn them as you go, have more forgiveness because it's new, versus being in a situation where you're joining a field where stuff is established and you're expected to know it already. That's another thing. Plus, I know with now, you would say, oh, you know, she likes the arts. She does that. There are so many things she can do. There's so many platforms. There's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Instagram. There are all these things that she could do to promote herself. And yet, is it? Because yes, it's there.
They're there.
They are there. They are there. We were just talking about yesterday. She just went viral yesterday for a Halloween costume. But that is how unpredictable it is, right? And then you fall into this fame with that type of things, you know, because you are very mindful, very demure. See what I'm saying? Like, and it's something you don't think about. So that's not something that you think can sustain you unless you have a legit gimmick, quirk, skill.
And even then,
popularity.
I was thinking earlier when we were talking about support versus push. I bet Ice JJ Fish mama told him that he was good at what he did. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want to, baby. And he did. Yeah. And he had his little, 15 minutes. I won't even call it little because it was quite a while. But one, where is he now? Two, we don't even know if that's even really what he wanted to do. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe rapping was his jam. But
can't see it. But or singing. He was a singer.
But did he? Yeah, a singer. But did he make any money off of that? Was he able to continue his fame? Like that, those are the kinds of things. And I know, like in the digital age, we think about that's how fame works. But when I was 8 years old or 10 years old or 12-year-old, that's not how it worked. And in my mind, I wanted to be Shirley Ralph. I wanted to be Jennifer Lewis. Like I knew these women before. Well, I mean, even like, yes, because they were on Broadway and that was my jam, right? Mm-hmm. But I knew who they were and I was looking at them like, yes, that's what I want to do. And this is who I want to be. And
our girls had to be right, but not just our girls. No, our people had to be threats. Like Nick Cannons and the Omar Goodings and, all these people,
right?
They can do more than what you see them doing. And it's because they had to be. If you want Nickelodeon,
absolutely.
You didn't do one thing.
You didn't do one thing. No.
You sing, you dance, you rap, you act, you produce, you direct,
Something.
you write, you do all these things, and you're conventionally attractive
Mhm.
and you're marketable.
And those things also contribute to not feeling like you're enough if you can't do all of those things. So I always wanted to be an actress, and I always kind of wanted to do musical theater and things like that. But I was like, but I could do TV too, right? But I'm not. Or there was some point where I wanted to be like an R&B, so I didn't want to be a pop star. I don't know if that pop would have been my lane, but I can sing, right? I can sing enough. I can sing better than some of the, the 90s voices that were out there. But I don't really write music. So then I was like, do I, if I'm not writing my own music, then am I good enough to be out here singing somebody else's songs?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, sure, what else does she do? Like, we look at her. She plays guitar. She writes music. She sings her songs. She produces. She does all these things, and that's great. But in order for somebody to be a person who sings songs and makes albums, do you have to do everything? And that is, to me, kind of also a deterrent, because it's like, how are you sustaining what you do if you don't do all the things that push it?
Mm-hmm. So now that you mentioned push it, let's kind of go back to your parents. What is it that you think, because we're going back, of course, to your tweets about how you feel like it's okay to rely on them and ask them whatever else. Do you think that it's because you weren't able to go into that field successfully that you wanted, and you weren't able to capitalize on what they saw you as successful as, that you're okay with it? Or are you okay with relying on them because they're your parents?
I think it's because they're my parents. I mean,
we're using rely.
Right. I mean,
Like we're really
it's broad.
Yeah.
Like, ask for, like, if, I don't know, what did I ask my dad for last? I needed 2 new tires and brakes at the same time. And I just was like, I can't do that all at once.
I need it though.
I need
I'm
it.
gonna die.
Right.
Be your fault, Daddy.
Woe was me. No, not me. But, and I'm gonna shout out to him. He did it. But, like, it's just that everything now costs so much. So it's like you're spreading yourself so thin. So I think it is just because they are my parents. And I mean, I know that they don't mind, and they're able, right? Like, everybody's parents are able, so I'm grateful. But it's, because they're my parents. Like, I wouldn't ask you. I mean, if it came down to it, if I really just absolutely would actually die, sure. But like,
friend, she would ask, because that's what I do.
Right. But like,
embarrassing me.
But a last resort, like, as a truly, if I didn't have them to rely on, or if I didn't have 4 sisters who we couldn't come together some kind of way to do something, like, that is the progression,
Mm-hmm.
So, and my sisters generally, and I think millennials in general, we're all kind of in the same-ish financial situation. If you're like a lower middle class type deal, we're not talking about her. We are. It's fine. We broke. We are temporarily separated from our abundance. Can't call myself broke.
Don't temporary. We speaking of
right. But
ching.
But yes, like, it's because they're my parents and they do have it, and I do have insight into their finances and their spending, whatever they have, and it's not like I'm pocket watching, but like, you got it.
She probably can watch a little bit, but with that said,
they gave passwords.
I feel that this might be controversial, y'all. Just take it. I feel that parents owe their children stuff. Like, you do. You owe them things. I think there is a point though where you can feel satisfied and say, I have done my due diligence as your parent in this arena. It might not be popular, but I do think there's a point where you can say, hey, I've done all that I can do. You are not doing your part in this situation. On the flip side, I don't think there's ever a time where a parent owes a child anything, ever.
Where a child owes a parent.
What did I say?
You said it the other way.
I meant the other way. I don't think there's a time where a child owes a parent anything, ever. Outside of course, respect, love. I won't say admiration. You gotta admire them jokes, but you know what I mean. Right. That part. You don't owe them anything. Now, with that said, do you think had they pushed you and made, I guess, reasonable sacrifices for you to get where you were going to go, and you made it to wherever you were going to be, do you think at that point you would owe them anything?
I don't think I would owe them, but I think that, let's just say I am not the person that I am today, and I am the Broadway starlet, naming lights, blah, blah, blah.
Tony Award
winning, you know,
Mhm.
Emmy nominated, whatever.
Wicked stuff.
I don't think I owe them anything, but I do make sure that I give back to them. But just because that's how I was raised, I'm a generous person. You said it, not me. And I wouldn't. There would be nobody within my reach who I wouldn't give back to, especially those who helped me to get to where I would be.
So you would think you owe the universe as a whole, not specifically.
For sure, not just specifically my parents. Anybody who, and I don't know that "owe" is the word. I give back.
I'm using "owe" specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would owe it to them, but I feel like as who I am, it's silly to not give.
Because you feel that way, is that why you're okay with getting or asking?
That's why I feel that way, yes. Because if you have it, and people say it all the time, they want to be Christ-like, but that is the one thing that I've always taken from Jesus is give it. This shirt, I gave it to her off my back.
I'm wearing it
off my literal back.
See?
Not like at the moment, but I
asked for it, but like I asked for it at least 3 times.
She's getting
a hint. I'm like, hey, bro,
shirt.
Let me get it. Every time she wore a shirt, that's nice.
It's nice.
I didn't ask her where she got it from either, because I didn't.
Pretty sure my boyfriend gave it to me at the time.
I mean,
I literally only wore it them 3 times. That she saw them 2 or 3 times that she saw it.
Thanks, boyfriend. Okay, so with that, I think that is the whole of it for me,
right?
Because I feel the same way. I'm using "owe" specifically because "owe" and "entitled" are words that people don't like to use,
right?
But words are created and invented because you have to put a name on certain things, and there are certain people who are owed and who are entitled to certain things, being your children.
Absolutely,
feel like they are.
And I know you hate
a mother
it.
and a daughter,
and I know you hate it, but they didn't ask to be here.
Yeah, and with the respect to your parents, I don't. Again, I'm using "owe" specifically. If anybody ever tells you my mama is anywhere destitute, broke, on the street, want a slice of cake and can't have it, it was because I didn't know she needed it. Trust. Okay?
Or I didn't have it.
So we gonna
figure it out. We gonna figure it out.
Right. So I want to make that clear. It's not. I think that's even better because I know I don't owe her anything, but she can have whatever she wants because I have it to give. Whatever I have to give, if she needs it, if she wants, she can have it. I feel like that about my in-laws too. Like, or you, or whoever, stranger out there. Don't email me. But anybody I can help, anybody I can help, rightfully so, I will try my best because, and I guess I have to be honest, I feel, because I know it'll come back too. Like you know, even the script you give and it's giving it to you. I hope that I'm not giving people things selfishly, expecting things.
Right.
But I've always gotten a return.
But you've always gotten a return.
It always happens, even if it's just the joy. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. If I know that I helped you not sleep on the street,
right,
that's enough.
Right.
You know, if I helped you have a good day because you wanted to get high. I'm sorry.
Listen, I was about to say, people will be like, oh, but what if they go buy drugs with, like, I give money to homeless people. If I have cash on hand and now they got Cash App every now and then, like, I don't want to be digitally connected to people like that. But if I have cash, I am going to give it to them. What if they buy drugs? That's what I was going to do with it too. I was going to buy drugs. I can go without my drugs for one day because I live inside of a house.
What if she was gonna buy tampons? What if she was gonna buy diapers?
Right.
What if she was gonna buy formula? Like I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
What the decision you made with that $5
doesn't have anything to do with me.
How can you get off $5? But anyway, point is, that's what I'm saying. So, "owe" is a word we don't like. Entitled is a word we don't like, and we shouldn't, because nobody should feel entitled to you or that you owe them anything, period.
Right.
And I even say that child to parent too. Like, I mean, you shouldn't feel that if your brain is developed enough to understand those words, then you shouldn't expect it.
If my parents never gave me another dollar, would I feel salty about it? A little, because again, I know you have it to give and it seems silly. And it's not as if I do nothing. Like I hustle. Like they taught me, if nothing else, I have skills that can make me money and I use them all the time to make me money. It's just in this economy, it's not enough, right? But if they never gave me another thing, I wouldn't be mad at them. I wouldn't be upset with them. I wouldn't, like, I could even understand it. And I know that they have set up things for me beyond their living, but at this point, those things are for my child, right? They're no longer for me. That's the generational wealth that we always talk about, but it should pass down one generation to the next. But at this point, my parents are at such an age that it won't be mine. I will have made mine, hopefully, yes, amen, so that it can bless my grandchildren, because whatever my parents started for me will go to my child. And that's just the way it should be. And that's how other cultures that aren't really cultures, I suppose, would. That's how they do it. They might lie, cheat, and steal to get it, but that's how they keep it rolling, right? So there are generations of them who haven't had to lie, cheat, and steal to get it. It was just given to them. Like how LeBron is giving his son his way on into the NBA, which I wholeheartedly agree with.
Nepotism rocks. The moral of the story: do what the fuck you want. It's either gonna work out or it's not.
Great quote.
But don't burn yourself out and be miserable doing shit you hate, because that shit could not work out too. And now you're broke and depressed. Okay. Now, that was the end of her. I don't call it a rant. It was a little bit of a rant, but rant always sounds aggressive.
What time was
It's
it?
more of a ooh.
It was early in the morning. I feel like
It's 11:56 a.m.
Okay, not earlier. What time did I start? Look,
You started at 11:44 a.m.
Okay.
So we're fine. All right, it was a rant. It was just they were musings.
I was
They
still in
thought-
bed.
She woke up feeling it. But I say that to point out the point of you just doing whatever you want. Now, when you do that, what happens? You do whatever you want. You're now not successful in what you wanted to do. Just
Yeah,
say you don't
right.
make it out, but you pursued that goal because you had confidence, faith in yourself, and it didn't work out. How does it
So
feel?
now you have comfort in knowing that you tried the thing, right? I won't even say that in failing, you realize that you're unfulfilled, because you could be fulfilled in failing. And I think that failing is something that we have to do in order to get better, right? So we are both kind of putting ourselves out there, even with this and with our other podcasties, to set ourselves up to do things that we love to do. And if nobody watches this or nobody cares or nobody likes it, doesn't matter, because we did it, right? So you see people who blow up, right? You seemingly overnight, but they really have been putting in work over years and years and years. And I realized that our first time that we recorded was like 3 or 4 years ago. Like that was a lot. What? 3 years ago? That's crazy. But that to say, if you fail, you may fail forward, or you may just fail where you are, but you look and take stock in that failure to see what you're going to do next. You can't, some things you have to learn on your own. Like the people say, oh, if the baby touches the stove, let him touch it. I mean, maybe don't. But
maybe let
them get close, let them feel the heat, right? But just because you couldn't do it doesn't mean that I can't. And just because you thought maybe you couldn't figure it out doesn't mean that I can. Just because there are lots of people down there singing that shoulda, coulda, wouldas doesn't mean that I will be one. And maybe one day I will. But maybe when somebody hears me singing my shoulda, coulda, wouldas and says, hey, I want her to come record that. You know, who knows?
And just because somebody else did it doesn't mean you can't do it too.
And just because somebody else is doing it right now, don't mean you can't do it.
Friends and living single.
Same show. Living Single's better, but whatever.
But they exist.
But
right?
they exist.
One of them made more money.
And one of them was better.
Lesser.
And one of them was better.
Just do it. And also, to piggyback on what Helen was saying about, you doing the thing or you trying it, don't let somebody tell you you can't have it because they can't give it to you either. Like you will want something, and because they can't provide it, to protect themselves, to protect their ego, to make themselves feel better, they'll say you're asking for too much. And that's not the case. The case is they just can't provide what you need. So just pivot, figure it out on your own, find somebody else who can give you what you need, because you don't have to settle for whatever the small thing is, because whoever that was.
Right, for sure.
And also, like she was saying, with the stuff that we're trying out now, like you said, if nobody watches it, that's why it's important to do things for yourself. Because when it comes down to it, you can say, well, I liked it.
Right.
It was great.
Or maybe you didn't. Because
Well, that was bad.
Because when I did pivot after I had my child and I went back to school, I had my child in 2010. I went back to school in the spring of 2012. I said, hey, you know what?
Try this again.
I'm gonna try sales and marketing, because these things in this field align with the soft skills that I have, things that I know how to do. I have been told on more than one occasion that I can sell ice to a polar bear. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna give it a shot. I think I'll be good at it. Number one, great at it, right? Number two, hated it. Especially the way that the sales industry is and was, and it's been shifting, but it's still very pushy. Even B2B sales and person to person. It's all very it's slavery, low key. Hate slavery. Listen, and I worked out of college, like she said, I was making almost 6 figures because I had two jobs. One was like 60,000, and the other one was like 40-ish. So I was making, I wasn't bringing 100 home, but close enough, right? Especially as a single person who was living at my dad's house, and you look at me and you say, Helen, well, what were you doing with the money? I was saving it, but then when I burned through my savings too, which that's what it was there for, right?
Rainy day came.
But all of that to say, I am really good at what I did. I was so good at it that I went to a place to work as a salesperson, and within 10 months' time, I was in training to be a manager of a team of those same salespeople who were doing the thing that I had been doing for 10 months. And that is to say that people had been there for years and not, made it beyond salesperson, but I'm management material. You feel me? Like it's me. I got it, right? I can encourage people. I can find the root cause of whatever problem you got. I know that I sound like I'm bragging, but I'm not. Legitimately, finding the root cause is what I do. It's why I am a good parent, right? It's why I excelled at the job that I was doing at that place. And this is not one of the jobs that I had that I was making almost $100,000 a year. This is the job that I should have been making that much money at, or at least almost touching it, because it was sales, but their commission structure was trash. It was too much work. I had a team of 14 salespeople, and 3 of them made more money than I did because their commission structure was better than mine. And we begged those people for months to improve ours. And a lot of people said that they were going to leave. And, if they didn't put their money where their mouths were, I was one of them who actually did, because I couldn't. My hair, when I went in to work at that place, was blue. And it wasn't covering up much gray. When I came out, my whole head was white. Guys, your stress can kill you. And so I had to leave that place. And otherwise it would have killed me.
Yeah. And you have to realize too that sometimes you can do something and be good at it. But if you don't love it, or if you don't like it,
if you hate it,
then it's not
for sure. Like, I can deal with, I don't too much like this. Like what I do right now,
yeah,
I don't love it, it's not killing me.
Tolerable is different than
Right.
miserable. And with that too, we all know that you do have to tolerate things. Like you can,
Right.
there are parts of things that I love that I hate. I love to bake. I wish I had a sous chef because I hate measuring. But I love the result. So
Right.
if I want these cookies, then this is a part of the process. So we get that. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying just because you don't like it, quit your job. Like let's not do that. If you hate your job though, you should reconsider. You should consider pivoting in some kind of way or finding even something within it that you do love and focusing more on that or something of that nature. So we understand that life is a series of compromises daily. Like I love fresh breath. I don't like brushing my teeth. I do it. Like it has to.
Right. It has to be done.
Has to be done. So it is what it is. So just focus on those things. Focus on the result. Maybe that'll help if you need to. But if you are miserable, you find yourself crying on the way to work. I had a friend that was actually doing that. If you find yourself like not just counting down the time to get off, but when you walk in and it's 8:05 and you're like, oh my God, I've already been here 6 hours and it's 8:05. That's a problem. Yeah. Consider that. But like make wise decisions. That's all we're saying. Like this is a lot that we have. The economy is a lot. The world is a lot. Capitalism is a lot. You have things that you have to do. You have people that depend on you. You have to figure it out. So there are things that you might do that you don't like. I'm sorry for that. I am truly, because I hate it too. But if there is a way to make yourself happy in any capacity, especially when it comes to the thing that you're doing most of the day, all day, then do that.
For sure.
That's what it is. And that's what I think the end was saying. Figure it out, be happy, not just quit and throw your hands in the air and say, okay, mom and daddy, your turn to take care of me.
Right.
That's not what we're saying.
No. That's for sure not it. But again, it does
unless you can.
Unless you can. I mean, mommy, daddy, sugar mama, whoever. Let them figure it out if they can. But pursuing things that do bring you joy, that do make you happy, even in the smallest amount, especially in the midst of having to do something that you hate, is important, because those small little glimmers will eventually start to build on themselves and each other and become your joy. So your dream, where's that now? What do we do now? Because the dream deferred by your parents, and we're using this loosely. We're not saying her parents killed her dreams, but in your parents' pursuit to have you be successful, is something that I feel, because they think it was necessary. I will say it was necessary. I understand. They had the information that they had, right, and they did what they thought was best. With that, with you being now a big girl, what do you do to realize your dream or some version of your dream? I do this. Mm-hmm. I sit here with you and talk to, I don't know, whoever's watching. I said I don't write my own songs. I don't. But I do write things. I write a lot. I was told by many English teachers that I am a good writer. A couple of them are a great writer. I hate writing. But sometimes I do write. I mostly write poetry. I don't hate writing poetry, but I'm kind of the mind at this point in life. It's like poetry, you can write rhymes. You might. Okay, the dish track was lit. Might have some hot bars, but I spit hot fire. However, greatest rapper of all time. But no, really, I don't. I think I hated the process of writing, like in high school, because it was kind of a rush thing, right? Then in college, the first time around, I think the statute of limitations is up on this. I wrote papers for people. That's how well I allegedly can write. How many years ago was that? Allegedly. But no, like I got paid to write. Right, at some point, I'm a professional writer. I've been paid. What you do with it after I write it is not my business. But really though, like, I mean, never anything below a B+, right? But I haven't come back to writing in a way yet that it would be productive for my dreams. I do want to, I don't know. I think it scares me to write because that is just the most vulnerable that you can be, to put your feelings and your thoughts on paper and then somebody else to look at it. That's a really tough space at this point.
And that's honest, right? Because we do this for ourselves, true, but also for likes, for views, for clicks, for engagement, for encouragement,
Make a dollar.
For praise, for rewards, for whatever else. And that's cool. Now there are some people who write for themselves, and I think that's beautiful.
And that's where my poetry is, for myself.
But but also it is discouraging to know you're better at something than somebody else. And
you said it.
I hate to say it.
Say it.
But it's the truth. And it doesn't, and you're not, and it doesn't get realized. And that's what this is. But there's also a point where you take that and you say, okay, we'll be better. Because there's a reason whoever this is are getting more like cute clicks, views, whatever else. There's something that they're doing that is better than you, whether you like it or not.
Right.
It is the truth. And it's objective, sure, but it's also there in the numbers.
Right. But I mean, then there's there's art for art's sake, right? And that's kind of what my poetry is.
Yeah.
But
I love art for art's sake. Bad movies, baby.
Listen. Put me in a bad movie. If you're out there, I will do some good acting in your bad movie. I promise.
It's one person that writes very bad movies. Very bad dialogue. I don't want to
be in those. But
But if it's actually bad, like we know it's bad,
right?
We know it's bad. Put me in that. Don't put me in the stuff that's like
that's trying to be good. I don't want to be anything that's taking itself too seriously. I want to be in a Tubi movie.
Put me in a Cabin Fever. Like put me in a dark comedy. That's what I want. That's my lane. Put me in a Tubi movie. And the bad novels too. Like
the trash novels I love. Like
the Corn Mills ones, that was too much. But like the bad ones,
yes, by all means.
Sister, soldier me up, girl. That's not shade, girl.
No shade. But they just
ever got me through some things. Okay,
I read that book in 3 hours.
But yeah,
as a youth that didn't read
art.
Thank you, Sister Soldier.
Appreciate you, girl. Midnight.
It might be the second whole book I ever read.
Oh my time.
Other than Oliver Twist. It was hard out here being a 12th grade. Listen, I read every last one of them books.
Same. Girl,
all of them.
Girl, what were you doing?
Omar Tyree. I read them all. I did.
But that's the point. Sometimes you can write things just because they're there, and some publisher will tell you this is smut, this is trash, this is filler. But those words are still put together nicely. They flow well. It's just not the subject matter you're interested in, or that person is interested. But there's somebody
gonna read it. Listen, if there are people out here,
your life. Not even the story, but the fact that you were able to write it and put it out and publish it and say, you know what, I can do this. And if nothing else, you should feel good motivating somebody else.
You should. And you might just be, you might be that one thing that relates to somebody. Like, I will forever, and I mean, we talking about these things like they're not good. I mean, and that's all subjective, right? The Twilight fan fiction that got made into movies about tying people up is trash. Made it to page 43, maybe. I think maybe 29, actually. But if they can do it,
got paid. That's the point.
She got paid. That was the point, and that was her art. And it shouldn't matter whether anybody likes it or not, right? Make your art and let them. Who said that? Dang it! I just read the quote the other day. Make your art, Andy Warhol. This is still not the direct quote, but it's basically make your art and put it into the world and make some more art and let other people decide whether they like it or not. You don't care about that because now you're making a new art at this point. Like, so that is what I'm doing with my dream now. I'm trying to trust myself enough to put myself out there enough to make my art and then put it out there. Because again, I make art. I do stand in my mirror all the time and do monologues and sing in my shower and dance in my living room, right? So I am trying to trust myself enough to take the show on the road, proverbially, and do my art for other people and let them decide whether they like it or not, and just continue making my art, because art for art's sake is really what the goal is. And if it makes me a little money on the way, then that's great.
Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap it up. Might have a question. So what would you say to the dreamer? You are the parent now, right? And I don't mean just taboo. I mean if you are the parent and you have this you can see that there is this thing that wants to be nurtured. And maybe they're not good. Like, that's the truth. Sometimes you want to do a thing and you're not good at it. I wanted to be a gymnast. Simone Biles, I am not. So
how much did you practice?
I didn't. I get that, but I'm saying, yeah, no. And that's fine. But I know that about me, right? But I think my mom would have been like, okay, go ahead, do it. I didn't tell her. Like, I didn't say to her, I want to be a gymnast. I think I may have mentioned it, but I didn't say it enough. And
what is enough? How many times does your child have to tell you they want?
I think you know your child, and you know when your child is doing something because they're watching Dominique Dolls right now.
Yes, we were.
And versus whether she really wants to do this, you know, Carrie Strug, you know, limping off, and I'm sure my mom was like, "No, ma'am, we're not doing that." But I'm saying, if you know your child, you know what matters to them. Where is the line, I guess, of nurturing and delusional? Or should you, as a parent, let them be delusional?
I personally think you should let them be delusional, because and it's not even delusion, right? Like I said, how much did you practice being a gymnast? The more you do a thing, the better you get at it. And that's not to say, like, it might take years, right? I am not as good of a writer as I think I should be because I don't practice writing. I know that there are certain things and elements in writing that come naturally to me that I can do, but if I wrote more, I would be a much better writer, right? I would probably think this is good enough for other people to see, right? I just don't do it. So if you don't go outside and do the drills, if you don't go in the gym, like, it's really the mama mindset. If you're not putting in the hours, and I know this not only from, because I want to be good at everything, right? I know there's not enough time. But I know from being a teacher, I teach swim, water safety, whatever. I know that the more you do a thing, the better you get at it, no matter what, right? If you start practicing something incorrectly, you're going to be good at doing it incorrect. But the more that you do things with experience, the better you get at them. So if you have a mentor, if you have somebody that's pushing you, if you look at other people who are doing the thing you want to do that are doing it well, and you model yourself after what they do and bring yourself to the thing, you will get better at it. I'm not saying that you would have been Dominique Dawes, but you could have gone to college on a scholarship for gymnastics. You know, like, the outliers are the outliers, but that doesn't mean you can't be good at a thing. And I think people that are the difference between good and great is so wide, right? Like, you can be good at something and 1,000 other people still be better at it than you and get smoked. Like, you can be good, but if somebody else is great, the difference between that is not the line that people think it is. It's a rate. It's a ravine, right? It's a big gap. And I am of the belief that being good at something, if you only want to be good at it, is good enough. Yeah. And I don't think that is mediocre. Like, people say, oh, well, all this mediocre stuff. I don't think so. If you want to be good at a thing and you are good at it, then that's enough.
Yeah. Well, just to let y'all know, to wrap this up, love your parents. Parents, love your children. Appreciate each other. Let them be. And be bold enough to be yourself. It doesn't mean don't teach them I respect. I'm glad my mom let me where she did. I'm glad she encouraged me enough. I'm glad she brought me down when I needed to be. But that's all balance. And if you can pay for them and live forever off you, that's okay. That's all I'm saying. It's okay. You don't have to struggle in life, and it's
Nobody
actually
has to
better if you
struggle.
don't.
Right.
So, I guess thanks for watching. Of all things, is there anything you want from this whole thing? What do you hope that people gather from it?
I hope that people gather from this to what I say. What was the quote? Do what the fuck you want. Do what makes you happy. Do like within reason, right? And not even within reason, within the bounds of yourself, right? We don't want you out here. If murdering people makes you happy, please don't. But seek help if that is the case. But do the things that bring you joy.
That don't hurt others.
That don't infringe upon others' rights. And usually for the great majority of people, those things aren't going to be the case, right? Mm-hmm. But do what brings you joy, even if it's only for 5 minutes a day. The more you do it, the better you get. Literally, hours spent, literally, I can't talk. Hours spent doing a thing equals improvement in that thing. So even if that is just loving yourself and affirming yourself, the more time you spend doing it, the better you get at it and the more return you get out of doing it. Mm-hmm. So that's my takeaway. Take that and put it in your pocket.
Take that and put it in your pocket, put it in your pipers. Put it in your Appreciate you watching. If you made this far, we love you.
We love you.
We will do more of these. This is Kids Wear Crowns, 1,000,001 Stories. We've only done 2 so far, so we got a bunch to go.
Yeah.
If there's anything you want to add to this conversation, comment box is open. Be nice. Because we cuss.
And you can't whoop my ass.
And you can't whoop my ass. And if you can, I'll be there too. But thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Love, light, joy. Peace. Let Lily lick Lionel's lusty leathers. Now, who are you?
Wow, you didn't prepare me for this.
This is the preparation.
You didn't prepare me.
This is it.
I am Helen Anna King. You want to interview answer?
I mean, but what does that mean? What does that mean? Who is Helen Anna King?
Who is Helen Anna King? Helen Anna King is...
Give me some adjectives.
A nut. I know it's not an adjective, but it's a descriptor. Nutty. Okay, there you go.
Take it.
I am passionate about few things, but the few things, there's a lot of passion there in those things. I'm a mother. I am a sister. I'm a daughter. That's what all the girls always say, right? They're mothers and sisters and daughters.
That's what
but this is what we are.
That's what we are.
I am those things, but I am more, as I said on Twitter not too long ago. I am a multiplicitous bitch. Let's see. I'm silly asshole person who is like really nice. My friends won't say that about me, but I know it's true. It's fine. Otherwise, they wouldn't be my friends.
Now, the way you just described yourself, would you also say that is your identity? Is that what you identify as?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty self-aware that way. I know who I am.
I mean, is there a difference though in descriptors because people always are, especially now, they ask, what do you identify as, or what descriptors do you have, what label, what pronouns, what any of those things? Do you think those things are important to you specifically?
They're not, because I got asked in an interview once, like a job interview kind of deal. Mm-hmm. You know, who are you? What makes you different from everybody else? And I legitimately just said, because I am me. And I know what that means. And I can show you what that means, but for me to say, like I can say I'm the king of the world, but that don't make me that. So labels are great, for identifying things, but to know me is to know that I am me, and today that might be one thing, and tomorrow it could be a slightly different thing, or an entirely different thing.
Okay, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. So like in the grand scheme though, what descriptor or what identifier would you think means the most to you? You know, they have those things where they say, describe yourself, and they say whatever you describe yourself as first, or whatever else. That's probably the thing that means the most to you. I don't know if I agree with that.
I feel you.
Because, like you said, we have that thing where we automatically say, I'm a wife, I'm a mother,
right.
I'm a friend, all that type of thing. But what do you think is or do you even have one?
I don't know that I have one that I absolutely am, but I know that what I want is when I am long gone and people remember me, that I want people to say she was kind. And I know that's like kind of meta, but I want people to say Helen was kind, like she was genuinely nice to people, even though sometimes I say mean things that people think are mean, because I'm very straightforward about a lot of things, but that I was generous, that I would literally give you the shirt off my back, as you know.
And this has always been you? Have you grown into this?
No, I've always just like, I believe in being kind to others and other people being kind to you. Like, that is just the biggest thing, because a lot of times being kind to other people means also being kind to yourself. Like, we judge other people a lot of times because we wish we could do what they were doing, or we don't approve of what they're doing necessarily because we've been through something like what they're going through, and it turned out for you a certain way, and you just want to protect them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but from how your outcome was, but your outcome might be different from theirs. So just, that's my one thing. When my child leaves the house or she goes somewhere, I always tell her, be kind to her.
But okay, going back to you saying that things have worked out differently for you than other people, that's where the distinction of like warning versus hate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there is a point where you're like, I don't want this bad thing to happen.
Absolutely.
But maybe they're better at doing whatever thing
right.
they try to do.
And that's kindness. Like, essentially, the difference between hating and warning is how you approach it. Mm-hmm. If your delivery is whack, I tell people all the time. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it shouldn't matter. I get that, but we're all human. And going back to being kind, if you know that your delivery was whack, they might not hurt you.
But that's the thing, right? But people are like, but you wanted me to be honest.
See, that's me though. Like, if you want me to be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest. It might not be nice, but you'll think it.
But I think there's a way, like you said, it might not be nice, but you can still have tact, right? You don't have to be a jackass if I say, Helen, do you like my braids? And if you don't like my braids, you could just be like, you can find something.
No, perfect example. Like, because, okay, so you ask, and I say, do I like your braids? Of course I like them. I did them. They're amazing.
Right.
Call me.
So if you did, you did do my braids.
But if your hair was in a way that I did not necessarily like, and even if it was something that I didn't like on you, because there's a difference. Like, if you have your hair standing up, shaved on the sides in a mohawk, crazy rocker style, like, I'm not necessarily a fan of that in general for anybody. Right. So I would say, DeAndre, I'm not really a fan of that style, but it looks good on you. If it looks good on you.
You're being nice.
But if it doesn't look good on you, I'll be like, girl,
this is what I mean.
Ma'am.
Yes.
How we gonna grow it back?
No, I'm not gonna grow it back. This is me now.
Okay, then that is your decision. I mean, in this situation, like, to me, whatever you do with your body, I don't gotta look at it.
Do you?
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm like
my mohawk.
I don't. Absolutely not. Because I'm just not a fan of this style.
Oh, okay. Whatever, I guess.
I'm just not a fan.
I mean, that was.
And I think about it all the time, because recently in my life there have come a lot of feelings from other people into it. Okay. And you never want to hurt other people's feelings, but you never know if you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings. I mean, you can know. There are ways to know, but sometimes feelings get hurt.
They do.
And sometimes there's no way around it, no matter how nice or how kind you are. If a person's feelings are gonna be hurt by something, then they're just going to be hurt.
I feel like hurt feelings though are okay.
Absolutely. I know this.
I think that if you hurt my feelings, if I ask you a question, do you like my mohawk? I love my mohawk. I want you to love my mohawk, but you don't, and I'm offended by that. I think I deserve to be offended. Now, if I lash out at you, then I think there's the problem, because you are also entitled to your opinion, and also I think you should tell me the truth when I ask you a question.
Right.
And so my reaction, I guess,
right, and that's the thing that you did with your body, and I respect that decision. Mm-hmm. You do whatever you want to do with you and your head and your hair. Please don't get a purple mohawk.
Get one.
But that is an important thing to say, because if somebody's out here doing something that involves other people or other people's feelings or other people's bodily autonomy, then that's another thing. But if you by yourself on your own make a decision about you, then that's on you, and I can't do anything about it.
Well, tell me a story. Tell me something interesting that has happened to you that you would not mind. You can even leave out the names of the innocent.
Change the name to protect the innocent.
Something that you think is of interest that you would like to share.
Something.
I
got 6 minutes. I can't even think of a story. A story.
It doesn't even have to be a story. It could be an anecdote. It could be a situation. It could be something that you've heard that makes no sense to you, and you just feel like you want to express to these people here that thing makes no sense, or the thing that does make sense that you appreciate. We want to World Cup, by the way. Go USA. That you think that we should express. What is it?
Go USA. I don't understand. How do I put this? It's all going back to that's crazy. It's all going back to the be kind thing. I don't understand. I do understand. I know exactly why people do the things they do. It's because they don't go to therapy. That's why everybody on the planet does what they do, because they need therapy and they don't go to it. But I don't understand why people care so much. That's weird to say.
It is weird to say.
But outside, right? Well, we should care. We should care about each other. We should care about ourselves. We should care about the state of affairs and things.
You have to care about people in some capacity to be kind to them.
Absolutely. But I don't understand why people care about what other people do, what other people think. Mm-hmm. Again, with themselves, to themselves, for themselves. It is not affecting another person. And I mean physically, because sure, you can do a thing that affects somebody mentally. Like, you can stay out past your curfew and your mother will worry. Mm-hmm. But you did not physically do anything to her. Mm-hmm. You can be a grown person now in college. I mean, you could get murdered, but that's not you doing something.
You worried her.
Oh, you worried her, yes.
And that was physical.
She could have a physical reaction to her own worry, sure.
Okay,
yeah. But it's so complicated. But, this is what I want the world, and I'm looking at the camera for this one. Your feelings matter, and they are valid. However, they are feelings. And sometimes we can't control what it is that we feel, because everyone has a reaction. But you can then control that reaction. Yes, you can. You can do it. Because this person didn't do a thing to you. And I'm not saying if somebody does something to you, obviously if I punch DeAndre in the face, she's probably going to punch me back. That is me violating her personal space. But if somebody hurts your feelings, I implore you the next time, because it'll happen, we all get our feelings hurt. And if you are a person that's out there like trying to live around getting your feelings hurt, I want you to stop that, because it's not a way to live, because you're not living. But anyways, the next time you get your feelings hurt, I want you to look deep down inside of your own self and think, why does this hurt me? What did they do to me that makes me feel this way? Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that that person didn't really do anything to you. It's something that already existed within you, probably an insecurity. that you should probably work out on your own before you tell them that they hurt your feelings.
I think people care because they were rejected the freedom that these people are given, and they feel like to be the person that I am, I had to do this, so you should have to do this too. And that's with a lot of things, you know. That's just how I mean.
Fair. I'll give you that. Like they hating. They hate. Like I had to go through. Like the people. Here it goes because I'm gonna run out of time on this. The people who are mad that Elizabeth Warren is trying to give us free college.
Yeah.
And the people that are like, I had to pay to go to college. Well, bitch, be glad that they won't.
I did. I had to pay to go to college.
So did I.
I'm not upset about it, though.
I had to pay to go to college, but I would be over the moon if I didn't have to pay for my child to go to college. Or if she didn't have to pay to go to college. I don't even care about me having to pay for it because she's going to get scholarships or whatever. But don't be so wrapped up in the rite of passage of the struggle. There will always be a struggle. It doesn't have to be your struggle.
Nice. I think that's good. You've got a minute.
I got a whole minute left.
Got a whole minute left.
I got a whole minute left. Learn to swim. Teach your kids to swim. If you're close to me, that means in Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, or Tennessee, or Florida, the Panhandle.
What about people that don't have access? What should they do?
Call me. The people that don't have access in those states where I just named, who cannot call me, go to your local YMCA. They teach lessons there. They're pretty for the low for the most part, as far as I know. Or call your local Red Cross to see if they have a Make a Splash Foundation near you where children of all kinds can go and get swim lessons. Yeah. So it's people to call. The Red Cross, the YMCA, your local health club. They might have a team or lessons or whatever.
Got 13 seconds.
Vote for me.
This was
I ain't running for nothing.
Hard stop, 15 minutes.
But vote
if you
for me.
like this, let me know because we're going to do it again with everybody else. It's been real. Bye.